Welcome to this explainer, made by Forge College. If you've been following along in our capstone series, you know that in our previous architecture lesson, we basically built the brain of our AI agent. We've got this brilliant, sophisticated system just sitting there waiting to make brilliant moves. But, well, there's a catch, right? A brain in a jar can't actually trade without a nervous system feeding it data. So today, our goal is building on-chain data adapters. This is going to serve as our essential engineering blueprint to give our AI the live, highly reliable market data it absolutely craves to function. Okay, let's dive into this master blueprint for systematically handling what is, frankly, completely chaotic blockchain data ingestion. We'll hit the need for adapters, drafting the blueprints, normalizing the chaos, safety valves and caching, stress testing the bridge, and finally, getting ready for execution. Section 1. The need for adapters. Why build adapters? Well, think of your AI agent like a total genius who's lived their whole life in a windowless room. High IQ, sure, but absolutely zero idea what's happening outside. It desperately needs clean, live Python price inputs before it can safely execute any of its fancy trading logic. I mean, picture raw on-chain data. It's fast, it's furious, and honestly, it looks like a messy ticker tape in a foreign language. On the flip side, we have our PriceTick schema. This is that neat, color-coded, meticulously organized spreadsheet that our AI boss actually requires to do its job without throwing a total tantrum.
So the crucial point is that an on-chain data adapter is simply a script. It subscribes to a price feed, like Pyth, and seamlessly transforms those raw Oracle account updates into normalized price objects. It essentially acts as the translation layer, the plumbing, if you will, running right between the raw data oracle and your agent's complex LLM engine.
Section 2. Drafting the blueprints. Hands-on setup. Let's move over to the workbench for a second and lay out our tools. For this hands-on setup, you're going to need a basic Node project, TypeScript for that sweet type safety, the Solana Web3.js library, the Python network client, and Jest for testing. Oh, and you will absolutely need a DevNet or mainnet beta test RPC website URL configured in your environment variables. Honestly, the setup is super straightforward, so please don't let the raw realities of data ingestion intimidate you. It's just 4 steps. Step 1, set up Node and TypeScript. Step 2, configure those RPC environment variables. Step 3, initialize your Python client subscription. And step 4, write the normalization mapping. We're literally just taking raw numbers and slotting them into the correct boxes. Section 3, normalizing the chaos, formatting data. Now, subscribing to the feed is only half the battle, right? We still have to format this incoming fire hose of data perfectly for our agent's input queue. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how we do it. Pyth gives us a price as an integer plus an exponent. We simply apply a scale factor using that exponent to get a normal decimal price. We do the exact same thing to scale the confidence interval. Then we convert the publish time into standard Unix milliseconds. And finally, we extract the symbol from the product account while firmly setting our source tag as Pyth. A quick, kind of lighthearted warning for you, though, watch your precision. Dealing with floating point math and massive exponents in JavaScript can be notoriously tedious, but taking the time to handle it carefully avoids data loss, and more importantly, it prevents your AI from hallucinating a catastrophic trade just because it moved a decimal place to the wrong spot. Section 4. Safety valves and caching, handling network hiccups. Okay, so the data is flowing, it's formatted, but we've got to face the realities of real-world network plumbing. WebSockets drop. RPCs get throttled. It happens. This is why we need to understand the difference between polling and subscriptions. Polling is like an annoying kid in the back seat repeatedly asking, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" It's super inefficient. Subscriptions, using WebSockets, are more like saying, "Hey, wake me up when we arrive." We overwhelmingly prefer WebSocket subscriptions for low latency feeds, but that means we proactively have to build in reconnection logic for when things drop. Building resilience into your systems is a core concept across a lot of Forge College learning programs. Here, it takes the form of exponential backoff. Think of it as a "don't panic, just wait a second" protocol. If the connection drops, you wait 250 milliseconds. If it fails again, wait a little longer, eventually capping out at a few seconds. And while you're waiting, you maintain a small in-memory cache, so your agent isn't left completely flying blind during a network hiccup. We also absolutely have to guard against stale data. Stale data is basically week-old bread. You do not want your AI taking a bite out of it. If you have a fast feed that usually updates every 5 seconds, and you suddenly go 10 seconds without an update, flag it as stale. It's a simple 2-by rule, but it acts as a massive shield, protecting your downstream execution logic from acting on totally obsolete market conditions. Section 5. Stress testing the bridge. 5-minute validation.
So, the bridge is built and the guardrails are up. But before we let a fully autonomous AI drive a heavy-duty truck over it, we need to send a test train across. Let's move to and see how this builds into an automated validation run using a jest script. We call it the 5-minute stability test. You spawn your adopter process and collect the standard output for exactly 300 seconds. Just sit back, relax, and monitor the JSON lines being emitted.
Now, what does a passing grade actually look like? Well, you want to see at least 30 normalized ticks received over those 5 minutes. Every single one needs to be perfectly valid JSON that matches your PriceTick interface, and crucially, there should be absolutely no gaps longer than 20 seconds without a stale flag being explicitly triggered. If you hit all those, it proves your adapter can maintain stability and format without just randomly crashing.
But hey, if your test fails, don't sweat it. It happens to the best of us. You might hit RPC WebSocket limits or deal with that precision loss we talked about. Or maybe your stale windows are just way too aggressive. But the number one, absolutely most common pitfall, confusing a product account, which just holds metadata, with a price account, which holds the actual numeric data you need. Double check your keys.
Section 6. Ready for execution. The final step. Once that test passes successfully, seriously, take a second to celebrate. You have just completed the operational bridge between live Oracle updates and your AI's decision engine. And because we were so strict about adhering to the schema from day one, wiring this into the next phase is going to be a total breeze. Your next step is just routing those beautifully schema-compliant JSON lines straight into the agent's inbound channel. That perfectly sets us up for the really fun stuff in our next lesson, actual trade execution and wallet management. Before we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought to chew on. If an AI agent's input data is flawed or even just slightly stale, just how catastrophic could its autonomous trading decisions become? Data integrity isn't just plumbing, it is literally the foundation of everything the AI does. Think about that for a bit. I highly encourage you to visit forge.college to dive deeper into this exact subject and explore other incredible Web3 topics. This explainer was made by Forge College. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one.